Hello, everyone, and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon taking place in the sign of Aquarius, either on the 9th or 10th of February 2024, depending on where you are on the planet. This new moon, to me, is almost like yet another piece of the puzzle, yet another very powerful emphasis being placed on the sign and energy and expression of Aquarius. It is something that, almost naturally follows certain events that took place very, very recently. And I'm speaking about the Sun and Pluto together entering into the sign of Aquarius. And this energy put Aquarius immediately under the celestial spotlight. This new moon basically makes the light, the spotlight, a bit brighter and, very, very visible. Whatever it is shining a light upon, it becomes extremely visible. But before I get into the specifics, it would be really wise for us to take a look at what just the Sun and Pluto have done until this present moment, because they entered into Aquarius very, very, very recently, and yet already so much has happened. So the Sun in Aquarius is really nothing new. It happens at the same time every single year. It is cyclic. It is part of the year when basically the Aquarian energies, the Aquarian expressions, collectively and individually alike, are being emphasized on. But of course, the Sun itself is kind of uncomfortable in the sign of Aquarius because it is in exile. The Sun rules Leo, and Leo is the home, the throne, the part of the sky where the Sun is at its very, very best. Aquarius, on the other hand, is the opposite sign of Leo, so the Sun is as far as it can get from home. Hence, its symbolism is in a way diminished. However, Pluto entering into Aquarius along with the Sun, this kind of, how should I say, truly emphasized on what the age of Aquarius and Pluto's next 20 years stay in the sign of Aquarius is going to be all about. And let me just give you a couple of examples of what has been, dished out on the world stage already. On one hand, Aquarius is without a doubt all about technology, technological advancements, the future, where science fiction becomes suddenly science fact. So the neural link, or how you call that chip, which was already implanted, how very obvious, how very symbolic, because Aquarius is the higher mind, and its function in that perspective is exactly to connect us to the highest possible perspective that we can access through our intellect. Very, very symbolic. On the other hand, how very many new technologies have been not necessarily created, but released, made public, shown to the public. And these technologies, cover almost every single possible technological domain. Virtual reality, software, artificial intelligence, hardware, quantum computing, space travel, cosmology, quantum physics, all of this has very, very recently shown very big, major progress, both in a very down to earth way where we have a new gadget or an upgraded gadget technology, but also in a theoretical way where the new theories kind of start, I don't want to say going against, neither ignoring, but start being almost like parallel with the Newtonian physics. So everything is much, much more quantum already. Now, of course, the news about extraterrestrials and all of that, that's included. But on the other hand, from a totally different kind of perspective, Aquarius is about freedom. It is about equality. It is about uprising. It is about rebellion. And I don't even need to mention anything about this because that was very, very obvious and ongoing. Now, this is quite a relevant energy because it highlights how very, very quick the Uranian and Aquarian expressions fold out on the world stage. So this new moon is gonna be like a cherry on top. It is gonna almost like make the reality that we are navigating uncharted, totally new waters karmically, quantumly, or with our consciousness, with our perceptions, with our understanding of the universe and basically everything in it, all sides of this included. But this may come across as something shocking, something a bit unsettling, something surprising, but in a very, very large way, where I do believe the best keyword here is it will definitely blow our minds in many different ways. This can actually go either way, or with the symbolism of Aquarius, not just go either way, but come across both ways at the same time. So it will definitely have very positive, hopeful Aquarius, the sign of hopes and dreams, the water bearer, pouring pure, blessed, divine emotion into our minds to sanctify it, to make sure that the mind follows a really, really high and loving principle, if possible, of course. So there is that part, but there is also a part where it definitely breaks maybe a hope, a dream, a principle, or something that we believed in. And when I say believed in, this isn't necessarily the Sagittarian or the Pisces kind of belief, not the Jupiterian kind of belief, but rather where our perceptions, our logic, our ration, our higher mind making sense of whatever in a very logical way led us to believe something, something that was imminent or whatever. It is that kind of belief that is breaking. Why? Because the mind, the mental sphere, our perceptions, and the way that we make sense about what we perceive, that also, let's say, upgrades. Let's say it transforms. It becomes much more detailed, if this is even a good way to explain it, than it was ever before. And it is exactly those details which give us a totally different perspective, view, and a way to understand a situation which maybe not just so long ago we felt that we understand it, we perceive it, that we master its logical side. Now, let me share my screen and let's get into the detail, because one of the most relevant aspects that this new moon holds, and if you can see, this new moon is at 20 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. Here we are, 20 degree 41 minutes. Now this 20 degree is really important because it is conjunct. So the sun and moon together, the new moon phenomenon, is conjunct a fixed star named Castra, which does symbolize uncontrollable temper. So the surprise factor, it will definitely shock us. And uncontrollable temper collectively with the revolutions it will spike them, it will amplify them without a doubt. And also, this is quite an unfortunate star. It does bring forth destructiveness. But if this wasn't enough, the ruling planet of Aquarius, Uranus, the modern ruler, of course, holds a square, a very, very tight square with the new moon phenomenon. So this is very, very powerful. This is very, very potent because this is where the synergy is very spot on. Uranus, the ruler, shocks, shakes up, and dishes out information in a rather tumultuous, overwhelming way, and the new moon. So whatever this new moon is gonna be creating, because this is ultimately a creational energy, well, that creation is gonna be very, very shocking. Now, on one hand, I'm not saying that everything is going to be created after the new moon phenomenon, because this is also like a spotlight aspect. That which is already in existence is just showing, presenting itself almost like a baby shower, collectively speaking. So yeah, and also at the time of the new moon, Mercury is in the sign of Aquarius. Mercury likes being in this air sign because it's all about technology, the future, communication, brainstorming, thinking big, thinking outside the box. Mercury loves that. So Mercury being here immediately catalyzes, amplifies anything that has to do with technology, communication, alternate forms of communication. Um, Mercury also squares Jupiter at the time of this new moon. Now, this represents either, and we already saw this play out on the world stage very recently, where maybe a day ago or 2 days ago, in the US, the founder of Meta slash Facebook, I don't want to name people, was very, very severely interrogated and bombed in a way, informationally, before the US Senate or Congress or something like that. So before central authority. And, this is something that in a way it's new, not because he wasn't uh, summoned before, he was summoned so very many times, but this is where the tone got so very serious, like never, ever, ever before. This is when it wasn't like, it didn't feel like top-down authority asking him questions and making him responsible, but rather the power of the people, the symbolism of Aquarius. So we are going to be seeing much, much more of that. And I'm not just saying Meta, everything that is internet, everything that is Mercury, social media, means of communication. And this is where why do I, Jupiter is a planet of the law. When you hold someone accountable for something, well, it's between Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is the philosophical part, the ideological part, why you broke the law or replaced law with custom, tradition, something that people hold as truth, as morality, for example. And Saturn usually executes. Saturn is which locks up or comes with the measures, the punitive measures. And Saturn and Jupiter hold a pretty tight sextile at this moment. So whatever Jupiter finds guilty, Saturn can execute it very, very, very quickly. So the law and creators of technology and internet and the giants are definitely going to be held accountable and responsible for whatever they are affecting with their services, and not just in a collective way in the sense that it happens in the name of everyone at a certain place, but also locally. Every country, every local community is going to be doing the same with giants or with anyone who embodies this social media or internet technology energy. So this is something that we're going to be seeing much more of after this new moon. But on the other hand, Uranus, the square it holds with Uranus, I do believe that is so very relevant and suggestive, because Uranus is the earthquake, the shock, the epiphany, the unexpected. Mercury being in the domain conjunct Jupiter, this says that it revelations, things that are going to be presented publicly are going to come as a cascade, as a waterfall. It's going to be tumultuous. So the new moon square Uranus, how does that change our perceptions, our way of thinking, our principles, and our ideologies? And chances are, square Uranus, this is going to break up a lot of groups, a lot of friendships, a lot of interhuman connections. Why? Because when the ideology clashes and doesn't match, due to a powerful revelation, then is when everyone is going to go a different way to match their own ideologies. And let me give you an example to better understand. There are these modern soul groups and soul families and soul alliances, which usually this play out on the internet because you need to communicate and you need to share. So of course they play out on the internet. But after a big revelation, for example, how very harmful, and maybe not just in a purely psychological, spiritual way, but in an actual neurological way, social media is, Wi-Fi frequencies and signals and all of that. Now, after this becomes very clear and not just conspiracy, you can imagine that any group like that is going to lose half of the members, because people will say, I cannot support this. I don't want this in my life in this way. So whatever is being revealed is definitely going to break up. But that's not a problem, because new ones will form. Because exactly the ideologies being revealed are going to make people form new alliances. The South Node in Libra, which the main theme and the main message and the main color of the South Node in Libra is to release, to purge out, to give up on old ways of connecting and creating alliances in our lives. What does old may mean? Well, on one hand, our old modus operandi. On the other hand, the opposite, the North Node in Aries. Our own self-image. Who am I? And chances are the answer to who am I is very different today, even in the now, than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 18 years ago. So that is why alliances, connections, even in a very down to earth way, contracts, agreements, making friends, or basically a contract can influence so very many areas of our lives. Marriage is a contract, work is a job is a contract, career is a contract, utilities is a contract. So very many things are contractual. If we are different, our self-knowledge is more profound and not superficial. You can imagine this implicitly will determine that our contractual behavior, but put to this, uh, non-official friendships, one-on-one alliance, good neighbors, bad neighbors, whoever it is that we allow to exist in our sphere, all of that is very different now. And this South Node joining this new moon in Aquarius Well, that is very, very revelatory in this sense. Exact. So, which means that Uranus holds a quincunx with the south node. So, this is where friendships and connections that already exist are gonna one hand be thrown into chaos, and from that chaos, new alliances, new connections, new contracts, new agreements, new whatever one-on-one alliances are definitely gonna be born. But before chaos, you know, before the new comes in, chaos to destabilize the old. And this is where it has to destabilize because a big and powerful truth is exposed, a truth, an awareness that changes everything, ideologically speaking, but also practically speaking, because Aquarius is our ideas, our big ideas, our hopes and dreams, of course, but in form of ideas. And those ideas need modus operandi. They need to be executory. And this is exactly Uranus's role here. What is possible, what is no longer possible. But when this is not the Saturnian energy where it says, oh, it's not possible by, it's not possible that old way, but I'm gonna reveal to you the new way how it is possible. Or it is your own research that leads you there, or your own epiphany, brainstorming, eureka moment, or someone revealing, telling you something. So this is a big, big, big game changer in that sense. Now, that also means that the new moon sextiles the north node. So whatever action, whatever initiation, whatever attitude, reaction even, this stirs from us, that gets us further into our own paths. The north node in the sign of Aries. But of course, we must make sure, again, Jupiter square Mercury, we must make sure that the action is actually aligned with, I don't necessarily want to say greater love, because there is not so much greater love playing out in the world right now, but at least morality and highest principles and our guiding light, so to speak. Because otherwise, it can turn into a very violent energy. I cannot hide this because Uranus, revolution, rebellion, earthquakes, but this is where understand the earthquake more symbolically, technological earthquake, social earthquake, and inner earthquake. And of course, real earthquake is very, very, very possible. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the super new moons, but I'm not 100% sure about. But anyway, earthquake from now on until 2026 is very, very possible, especially greatly amplified in April when Jupiter meets Uranus. That is calamity there, and nature and the weather going really, really chaotic. But there is a method in the madness, because whatever happens, that is important for nature herself. How we perceive it and how much it destroys our homes or possessions or crops or whatever, that's one thing, but nature herself needs to, leap into the future through her own means. So geomagnetic and tectonic changes are very, very possible. Now, another energy that I find quite interesting is that Juno, let me just show this to you. Asteroid responsible of partnerships also holds a quincunx with this new moon. But on the other hand, Juno holds a trine with Uranus. So again, whatever, let's say, relationships, this might destabilize, a new one will take its place. This state, I'm not sure how to pronounce the word. The destabilization of this is actually a blessing in disguise, because something much better, much more better is gonna take its place without a shadow of a doubt. So yes. And another energy, Vesta. Vesta is the protector of the homestead, of the family, goddess of the sacred flame. Now, Vesta here is trining the new moon. So that is almost like the saving grace, because whatever chaos, whatever upheaval, whatever revolution, whatever rebellion, and the moon, we must not forget, this is also an emotional energy. Whatever shocks us, well, it will still play out in a positive sense for our greatest good as the chaos settles down, as we make sense of it. So I do believe that Vesta's presence is truly something that is worth to look forward to, especially after, as I said, the chaos settles down a little bit. Now, another energy that I would like to include here, which doesn't converse directly, personally with the new moon, yet I find it still very relevant. Now, we can see Venus here in the sign of Capricorn, trining Uranus. And this is very important because Venus rules the sign of Taurus, where Uranus is. And again, this highlights that after the chaos is settled down, let's say, we see the positive expression of what this energy brought in our lives. Venus trine Uranus, financial upgrade, new currency, new way of paying, let's say, new way of Capricorn administering certain elements which have to do with value. New legislation, for example, new HR work legislation, the protests of the farmers. The protest of the farmers is so symbolical because farming is Taurus, living earth, crops, etc., is definitely Taurus. Uranus, okay, the upgrade, but Uranus is also humanitarianism. So Uranus' symbol, especially trine with Venus, says that the upgrades, the technology, the innovation, well, if it goes against the well-being of people, that's a big no-no. That cannot be, allowed. And this is so very beautifully expressed by the Saturn and Jupiter sextile. But anyway, this Venus trine Uranus actually says that there is going to be solutions. There are going to be things that truly come as a saving grace with that specific crisis, but any other crisis, financial crisis, etc. This is where people, Uranus, demanding solutions, or people will get what they demand. Ironically, chances are, of course, it won't be enough. It won't be perfect. People will be hair splitting, but it is their right. You know what I mean? Because the legislation was so aggressive to people. Now people are aggressive with the lawmakers. It's not good enough. You can do better. It's not satisfactory. You cannot cover my eyes with a piece of wool. This is where the demands of people are a tiny bit unfair, unjust, way too high. But this is a natural reaction to how they were treated. Like, let me just give an example. In my country, and I mean this 1,000,000% literally, not symbolically, and I'm not exaggerating, you cannot have a company, a decent, just a decent company, a small little decent honest business. It is, the legislation makes this 1,000,000,000% impossible unless you are the relative of I don't know who. You are part of politics. You're a very good thief. You have people in foreign countries outside, especially the EU, like in the United States, where you can just, resolve the taxes this and that way. If you don't meet these, or you're not a master thief who knows how to cheat everything, or if you do not have the guts to take on loans and not pay them back and be okay with, if you don't meet this criteria, it is impossible to have a business. So can you imagine? And how it is in my country, most volcanic countries are the same. So you can imagine that as unfair the legislation was to people, now people are the same, react the same way to lawmakers. Nothing's good enough. And this is the display of karma. What was given is now given back. But this Aquarian new moon will definitely emphasize this. It will emphasize that people square with Uranus will demand something that is beyond perfect, which is impossible, yet it reveals just how they feel. It reveals the truth, the honesty of their feelings. Moon. New moon, okay, the moon is dark, totally dark, but on the other hand, once the square with Uranus, but also the trine to the south node, this new moon is so good to eliminate energies, thoughts, and principles from our lives which simply do not serve us anymore. Because that is the specific of any new moon. A new moon phenomenon is very notorious for its new beginning, creational energies, setting intent and planting, and then that will grow. Okay, that we get that. But especially the ancients use the new moon to eliminate everything that they don't like. The darkness of the moon is like the void. It is like the abyss. What is the abyss? The divine unknowing. That which the divine does not want to know anymore. It's almost like when we refuel something into our unconscious. The divine does that as well. That is called the abyss, which the divine doesn't even want to shine a light upon ever again. That is the abyss. So the ancient used this seed of intention, but in a way that whatever does not belong in their lives or they don't wish it, off to the abyss with you. So we can also use the new moon in that sense, the darkness of the new moon, to put everything there that needs to be discarded from our lives. It is almost like flushing it down the toilet, symbolically speaking. But remember when I said Vesta at 21 degree of Gemini, and how Vesta trines the new moon phenomenon in Aquarius. Now, Vesta herself activates a fixed star called Capella, which symbolizes the intervention or solving any problem with the help of powerful, relevant, socially or otherwise friends. So this trine is really, really good because chances are, however the chaos of Uranus affects, collectively or individually, there is always friends or people or someone who can be helpful. Or again, this Vesta conjunct Capella favors new alliances, finding powerful friends, but not in a way that, not in a classic way. A powerful individual has to team up with another powerful individual professionally. This is such a beautiful energy because this can be the surprise, and shock factor, especially from an individual perspective. A new, unexpected ally pops up into your life like an offer. I'm very good at X, you're very good at Y, let's team up, because expect energies like this. And of course, that person may be the Uranian archetype, unusual, eccentric, rebellious, or non-conformistic. But imagine that both of you are like that to one another. So it's not just one-sided. However, the other person shocks you, you shock the other person as well. And if this is positive, if this is attractive, really, really powerful alliances are going to be born out of that. Another energy that doesn't really converse with the new moon, but it's relevant. Mars is on the galactic center. So that, remember when Mercury was there just not long ago? So many downloads. This is where many people were almost tormented by divine downloads, visions, symbols, information appearing in their minds out of nowhere. Mars taking Mercury's place activates it. So maybe that is a period when it's not information that's coming your way, but synchronicity in a much more dynamic way, if that makes sense. So the other energy that I find very, very interesting and important is that Mars sextiles Neptune. Very, very good for manifestation, very good for creativity, very, very good for basically manifesting that which you're working on already, because Mars in the sign of Capricorn does need effort and a tiny bit of sacrifice, the requirements of Saturn. But once that is fulfilled, it really, really works like a charm. It is a very, very powerful energy. And on the other hand, this is where Venus holds a minor astrological conversation, a semi-square with Saturn. So what this says to me is that, remember, Venus in Capricorn is very, 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 very practical. But Saturn in the sign of Pisces takes that practicality onto a whole other level. Now, Uranus shocks. And this isn't just the new moon. This is more like the Uranus's trine to Venus. Solutions, etc., etc., the practicality, surprises, brainstorming, eureka, favorite communication, the can-do attitude. Okay, but it's still Uranian, unusual, and Saturn semi-square says, okay, but can you do this? Is this fit for you? Is this too much for you? So this is like the energy of frustration, a reality check where Uranus delights us with the surprise, but Saturn makes us think more deeply about it. What does that surprise do for us? Because if we're not really able to embrace it, if we are not really able to hold it, in our possession, to accept it, to embrace it, to integrate it, then it's not really a useful energy. So this is where there is a touch of frustration here, because a lot of what can come from the Uranian trine is simply not applicable yet in our lives. So even if it delights us, it is a useless, a futile surprise, because it just makes us a bit optimistic, but that's it. We cannot apply it, and that makes a very strong frustration to follow. And last but not least, I want to speak about the Sabian symbol of this Uranian new moon, because I find that infinitely relevant. So the Sabian symbol goes like this: a disappointed and disillusioned, very important woman. And the woman here the creative energy of the new moon, woman, the birth giver, the female, the divine feminine, courageously faces a seemingly empty life. So I have to repeat this again. A disappointed and disillusioned woman courageously faces a seemingly empty life. I do believe that this speaks volumes. The disappointment and disillusionment, that is the Uranian truth that sinks into our collective awareness, the new moon phenomenon. What am I specifically saying? Well, regardless of how the square plays out, technology being revealed, or whatever comes to our awareness, well, that breaks an illusion, a fantasy, or a very ignorant attitude that we might have had. It makes it impossible for us to block something out that comes from the collective. This can play out individually as well, but whatever information, surprise, event, or whatever is coming, it is at least partially collective. So, even individually, something comes from the outside, not necessarily from the inside, and we have to react to that. And of course, that disillusions us and disappoints us. A reality check, the stark reality, the harsh truth hits all of us. However, the emphasis is really on the woman's attitude. She courageously faces it. She doesn't back down. And exactly that attitude is healthy hope. And that is basically the best possible usage of Aquarius energy. When we want to align with something that is possible in our lives, and also our hopes and dreams and principles and higher thoughts and higher aspirations that are also very linked to Aquarius, those many times don't even need to be something physical, hence the square with Taurus, physical. They don't need to be physical, because the higher way of existence is when the principle itself fuels us, and that is more than enough. So this means aligning with much healthier principles, ideals, dreams, and hopes for us personally. And this energy shouts, screams that the collective influence, what is valuable, what is sought after, what is the next, collectively speaking, this is where that is almost like the enemy. That is almost like, it's almost like the collective being purged out. Actually, this is the best possible symbolism. All of us know what individual purges are. When something, an emotion, a trauma, the past or present or even future, a false goal, a false aspiration, false dream, is being purged out from us. But take this on a collective level. So collectively, we're going to be disillusioned and disappointed with something that in the present moment is still very trendy, very valuable, very sought after. So, for example, social media. I'm not saying the integrity of social media, but the big power players in the field of social media right now. Disappointment, disillusionment, a change of attitude, change of behavior. Where is this going to be leading us collectively? Perhaps that is the biggest surprise. And also the disillusionment and disappointment. Well, this energy is going to offer us glimpses of what is conspiracy and what is real. Remember back in 2020, 2021, of course 2023 included in this, when Neptune squared Jupiter or in the more present Neptune squaring the galactic center. That was a massive aspect of, we cannot even determine what the truth is. The truth had to be sought from within by living from within. This full moon kind of builds on that in the sense that, well, I'm going to show you everything that is definitely an intentional lie, intentional manipulation, smoke and mirrors. It is almost like when there is a magician. When I say magician, not this in a spiritual sense, but the tricksters, the stage people, magician like Houdini, for example. And all of a sudden, you're shown the tricks behind, how the methodology of their illusions. So something like that will immediately break the fantasy. You will see that everything is just a tricked and optical illusion. This is exactly how this new moon is going to play out. We're definitely going to be majorly disillusioned by something. However, all that is positive. That is very, very positive and very, very, very useful. Like a breath of, that is freedom. Freedom from the illusion and be the possibility of being aware of what exactly is happening around us. Because why? Aquarius, it is both the human collective, but the smallest functional component of that is the individual. Both of them are equally important. So the individual and the collective do need to see one another. They do need to, how should I even say this? Be able to observe one another in an objective way. Hence, revelation, discovery, light being shed on so very many things in our lives. Of course, personally speaking, just individually speaking, who knows what kind of surprises this new moon brings? Who knows what kind of revelation, what kind of reality check? But again, the Sabian symbol, we need whatever is going to be revealed. Because individually, where is this 20 degrees of Aquarius falling into your personal chart? It can be romantic surprise if it falls, for example, fifth house or eighth house more like sensual, but a shocking discovery. A truth is being revealed. Your partner, for example, cheated on you, but the awareness of that doesn't no longer causes pain, but it causes a realignment with your greatest principles. Or let me give you other examples. 10th house, 6th house, you're being laid off. Your job suddenly terminated. The company is bankrupt. Maybe this is what it takes for life to shoot you into the right direction where you can excel. You could not leave the job because of personal fears and finances and Capricorn. Now fate does it for you, and surprise, surprise, you get into a much better lifestyle. So, adapt this to your personal situation, but no matter how shocking it seems, embrace it in a positive. Remember the Sabian symbol. And I like this, I don't know why, but I like this so very much that I have to say it again. A disappointed and disillusioned woman courageously facing a seemingly empty life. This is brilliant. Why? Because I believe that in each and every one of our cultures, and even our families past, the distant past, maybe not just 2-3 generations ago, everyone had that woman in their life. A woman like that, who, despite disillusionment and discouragement for 10 trillion different karmic reasons, who still had the courage to go on, maybe our ancestor an ancestor which did the most good in our family's history. Everyone has such a woman in their family's history. Absolutely everyone. Some people have to go only just one generation in the past, others maybe 50, others 100, but I can guarantee that everyone had such a woman in their lives. So the Sabian symbol is gonna put all of us into the position of that infinitely strong and spirited woman who saved her future. How do we know that she saved her future? Because we are alive here today. So absolutely, this is why I really the Sabian symbol resonates so deeply with me, because it says everything, all of the guidance that we need with this new moon. That is the attitude that takes us forward. That is the attitude of the groundbreaker and, of course, the revolutionary. No matter how the old world disappoints us and disillusions us, even if the future itself is empty, of course it's empty because it's still undiscovered. It's still under a big shroud of mystery. Still, healthy faith can get us there and can give us the strength to endure anything in a very gracious and courageous way. So, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I'm going to close this recording with this. Thank you for all the love, all the support. If you'd like to support my channel, you can donate on the PayPal link in the description below. With this being said, thank you so very much for listening. Wishing everyone a really magical and powerful new moon. Remember the Sabian symbol. Until next time, bye for now.